Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. Let's dive into Beyond the Gates. In a world where loyalty is priced with money and silence can be traded for a life, no one is truly safe. At Joey's casino, a place where the dazzling lights only serve to mask the deep shadows, a plot is quietly taking shape. Randy, a former murderer now under Joey's protection, lives in fear and submission. But when a young waiter named Drake starts to see too much, the power game begins to crack. Joey, who controls the whole town with his smile and sweet promises, is unaware that the very people who remain most loyal to him are silently rewriting his fate. When loyalty turns into a double-edged sword, who will be the last one standing in this cold-blooded game? The one who gives the orders, or the one who was once the commanded? Randy sits alone in his shabby room, the faint light streaming through the dusty window, casting jagged shadows on his face. The murder order lies before him, neat, shameless, and cold like an unpaid bill. He doesn't look at it with the eyes of a killer, but with the gaze of someone who's become too familiar with the slide between sin and duty. Each word on the paper cuts into his mind like a knife, where fear and loyalty intertwine to form a poison that slowly corrodes his soul. This order, like all the ones that came before it, carries Joey's breath, the man who controls the entire town with his stiff smile and emotionless eyes. But this time, the target isn't just some small-time debtor or a petty trader. The name written on the paper is Marcel, the old cop who was once the symbol of justice in a place where justice has no room. Randy knows that once he takes action, there's no turning back, not just because Marcel is the only one who dared to look Joey in the eye, but also because Marcel was the only one who believed Randy could escape this filthy spiral. Joey, on the other side of the city, sits in the luxurious room of his casino, where everything is bathed in the false golden glow of chandeliers and the scent of new money. He looks at the people in front of him like pawns, moving them with cold calculation and the absolute belief that loyalty can be bought, maintained, and destroyed with the same thing, fear. Joey knows Randy won't refuse, because he has nowhere else to go. Each of Joey's subordinates thinks they have a choice, but once they enter Joey's world, every exit is built with his own hands. Randy once tried to run, and Joey let him go, only to watch him return, exhausted, starving, and ready to kneel. Joey doesn't need friendship, he needs submission. And now, when the order has been given, he knows Randy will comply, because he holds the one thing Randy will never dare lose: his own life. Marcel, meanwhile, has no idea that death is quietly approaching him. He's felt the pressure mounting ever since Doug's death, the old friend who once shared long nights in the old bar, talking about cleaning up this town, even knowing it was an impossible task. When Doug died, everything changed. Every time Marcel looks in the mirror, he sees not just the fatigue of an aging cop, but the regret of not stopping the inevitable. He knows Joey is behind it all, knows Doug's death wasn't an accident. But what Marcel doesn't expect is that he himself has become the most dangerous link in that chain of secrets, a ticking time bomb, as Joey feared. He has files, recordings, confessions that haven't been released. And worse, he's preparing to leave the game. His decision to retire is a silent declaration that he has nothing left to lose, something that keeps Joey awake at night. In the days leading up to the mission, Randy feels the divide within his mind. He is no longer the heartless killer he once was, but he's not the person he used to be either. Joey has turned him into a thinking tool, and that's the fatal mistake. Because tools, when they fear, obey. But when they think, they rebel. He remembers the times Joey smiled, talking about family, about trust, the lies wrapped in fake kindness. Joey always used gentleness to hide control, turning others into willing slaves. And Randy understands Marcel is just the excuse. This murder order isn't to eliminate a threat, but to test loyalty. A bloody trial that Joey uses to measure who still obeys, and who has started to doubt. Tonight, Randy stands outside Marcel's small house, the faint yellow light from the window highlighting his shadow on the ground. With each step closer, his heart beats harder, not out of fear of being caught, but fear of himself. He could take a life like so many times before, but this time he can't kill in silence. He knows that once he pulls the trigger, everything inside him will break apart completely. In a dark corner of his mind, he hears Doug's voice, not his real voice, but the echo of a memory, reminding him that Doug once believed he could live differently. Joey whispers through the phone, his voice calm, almost gentle. "Do it, Randy." That short sentence feels like a death sentence, not just for Marcel, but for Randy's very soul. But in that moment, Randy lowers the gun. He realizes that Joey never believed in loyalty. He believes in fear, and if he wants to break free from that bond, he must do the opposite, betray. That choice doesn't make him a hero. It just makes him a desperate man trying to survive. He runs into the darkness, knowing that Joey will send someone else to kill both him and Marcel. But at least this time, he's not just a tool anymore. Meanwhile, at the casino, Joey sits silently at the bar, his gaze darkening when he receives the news that Randy has disappeared. He's not angry. Joey never gets angry. He just recalculates. To him, every betrayal has value because it shows who is weak. He knows Marcel is no longer the only target. Now, Randy has become a threat. And when a tool breaks, Joey doesn't repair it, he replaces it. But this time, Joey has miscalculated. Because in the dark, Randy and Marcel, two men crushed by the same system, meet not as enemies, but as the remnants of a conscience still intact. They know Joey won't stop, but at least they can drag him down with them. In a world where loyalty is just a bargaining chip and betrayal is the only real language left, sometimes the only thing that can save a person is desperate resistance. Randy is no longer running. He only has one road left, to turn around and face the one who created him. Joey, with his familiar smile, will never think that one day, the very tools he created will come together to ignite the flame of rebellion. But Randy knows, to end it all, he must accept that no one in this town is innocent, not even himself. And when the gunshot rings out again, no one knows whether it marks the end of a tyrant or the beginning of another bloody cycle, where guilt continues to breed new murderers, in a world where loyalty always bleeds. Randy was never an innocent man. He wasn't born to be saved, but to survive. And in Joey's world, survival is never free. He's protected, but that protection never comes from pity. It's a pact made of blood, power, and debts that once borrowed can never be repaid. Joey doesn't believe in emotions, doesn't believe in friendship, and certainly doesn't believe in things like loyalty unless it brings benefits. To him, people are tools, and each tool is valuable until it breaks. Randy understands that better than anyone. He's the one who was saved only to serve, the arm that enforces orders Joey doesn't want to touch. Every time Joey gives him a job, Randy doesn't need to ask why. He only needs to know that if he doesn't do it, he'll be the one lying on the ground. In the darkness of the casino, where the loud sounds conceal dirty dealings, Randy moves in silence. He kills when ordered, cleans up when needed, and creates false stories when Joey wants to cover something up. Joey calls it maintaining order. But Randy knows it's just another way of saying, wipe away the evidence. Everything runs smoothly until the name Drake appears, a young, quiet waiter with eyes too sharp to survive in Joey's world. Drake works at the casino, serving drinks to guests and cleaning tables after every game. But he's seen too much. He's seen Randy come out of rooms guests aren't allowed into. He's seen thick envelopes passed from hand to hand in the dark. And worse, he's seen Joey come out of his private room after someone has disappeared forever. Joey, like any born controller, knows when to smile, when to threaten, and when to act. When Drake starts asking questions, Joey isn't angry. He's curious. In his world, information is a weapon, and sometimes a curious person can be more useful than a loyal one. But Joey doesn't realize that Drake isn't just curious. He's afraid. And fear is what makes people act the most foolishly. Drake starts writing down everything he sees. Who comes in and out of the office, the times, the voices, even the bits of conversation he overhears through the partially closed door. He doesn't plan to expose it, at least not at first. But one night, when Randy accidentally sees Drake in the casino parking lot, where he's putting a small notebook in his car trunk, he knows something is about to break. Randy doesn't say anything to Joey, not because he wants to protect Drake, but because he fears Joey's reaction. Once Joey knows, Drake will die, and Randy will be the one to kill him. And Randy, though he's killed many, doesn't want to kill this one. Drake isn't like the others. In his eyes, Randy sees his own image from years ago, a man who thought he could escape the darkness by staying silent. But Randy knows, in Joey's world, silence is also a crime, because Joey doesn't believe anyone stays silent out of loyalty. He believes they stay silent because they're hiding something. When the rumors of a third party knowing too much reach Joey's ears, he starts suspecting everything. He sends someone to follow Randy to test loyalty. He watches every glance, every breath. Joey knows people better than anyone. He knows when someone begins to fear him less than they fear themselves, and that's when they'll betray him. Randy, in those days, lives like a hunted man. Every morning, he wakes in a sweat. Every night, he dreams of Joey standing by his bed, smiling that half smile with a gun hidden behind his back. Joey doesn't need to threaten. His very existence is a warning. Drake, meanwhile, has made his first and last mistake by trying to sell the information. He thought that if he handed the evidence over to someone in the police, he might be protected. But the cop he approached was one of Joey's men. When Joey finds out, he doesn't get angry. He simply calls Randy in, places a photo on the table. Drake talking to the man in the car. Joey doesn't say, "Kill him," but Randy understands. In this world, the most important orders don't need to be said. But this time, Randy doesn't do it. He goes to Drake, sees him trembling in the faint light of the parking lot. In that moment, Randy realizes something horrible. Drake still believes he can live if he leaves Joey. That belief is too naive, but also too precious for Randy to kill. Randy doesn't shoot. He just quietly says, "Leave and never come back." But Randy forgets one thing. In Joey's world, no one disappears without him knowing. When Joey finds out Drake is still alive, he doesn't act immediately. He waits, because he wants to see how Randy will react. And Randy, like everyone crushed by guilt, begins to make mistakes. He avoids Joey's gaze, drinks more, sleeps less. Joey doesn't need to interrogate him, he just observes. At the weekend party, he walks up to Randy, smiles, pats his shoulder, and says, "You're tired. You need to rest." That seemingly harmless phrase is a death sentence that a few days later, Randy is found dead in a shed on the outskirts of town. There's no sign of a struggle. No one heard a gunshot. Just the faint smell of cigarette smoke, like every other death in this town. Joey continues his work, as if losing a tool only means replacing it with a new one. But he doesn't know that before he died, Randy sent out an envelope containing all of Drake's notes, along with information that only Joey and he knew. And so, the circle of guilt opens up again, where Joey himself becomes the prey in the game he thought he always controlled. Joey's world is built on fear, but fear is never permanent. Once the oppressed begin to see each other not as tools, but as equals, his power begins to crack. Joey created Randy to obey, and it was Randy, with his final betrayal, who brought his entire empire into chaos. In a place where every secret has a price, sometimes the greatest price is the belief that you can control everything. Drake never thought he would get caught up in something bigger than a waiter could handle. He came to Joey's casino just for the money, not for ambition, not for power. But here, money isn't just a tool, It's the language, the promise, the weapon, and the thing that makes people lose their souls. Every night, Drake walks past the glittering cocktail tables, where the rich laugh and talk, where the dice and glass clink together, blending into the sound of lies. He sees Randy standing in the corner of the room, his face as cold as stone, eyes not looking at anyone but seeming to see everything. He sees Joey emerge from behind the red velvet curtain, his smile full of power, gentle enough to be terrifying. Drake understands that everyone here has a role, and no one can forget their lines. But gradually, he starts noticing the silences, the small details that others miss, guests who never come back, thick envelopes being passed in the dark, times when Randy disappears and returns with tired eyes. He begins to realize that something in Joey's world isn't just crime. It's a system, a mechanism that devours everyone, even those who think they're in control of it. Joey runs the casino like a king in a kingdom of fear. He believes everyone has a price, and loyalty doesn't exist unless there's a reward. He doesn't need emotions, just results. Everyone under his command, from the guards to the accountants, lives by the same logic: obey to survive. Randy is the perfect example. A man who once betrayed but was kept around because Joey knows how to turn fear into chains. But what Joey didn't expect was that Drake, the one he never paid attention to, is becoming the weak spot in his empire. Drake hears things he shouldn't hear, sees things he shouldn't see. And when he pieces these scattered fragments together, a picture begins to form. A picture of murders disguised as accidents, of money laundered through the casino, and of names erased from police records thanks to Joey's protection. Drake isn't a hero. He knows he's too small to take on Joey. But because he's small, he becomes invisible, and that helps him survive. He starts writing, quietly, meticulously, like a monk copying scriptures in a world of demons. He knows that if Joey ever finds out, he'll die. But if he stays silent, he'll die too, not by a gun, but by the fear that slowly eats away at his mind. He has to choose: become Joey's tool or a traitor. And it's in that moment that Drake realizes that betrayal isn't just a coward's choice. Sometimes, it's the only way to hold on to the humanity left inside him. Randy notices that Drake is changing. He sees the look in his eyes when he looks at Joey, no longer fear, but doubt. He remembers when he first realized that Joey wasn't a protector, but a jailer. Randy knows that once anyone in the system starts doubting, they're no longer safe. He warns Drake with silence, with meaningful glances, but Drake doesn't understand. Drake thinks Randy has given up, that he's just a man who's lost his courage. But Randy understands Joey better than anyone. He doesn't need evidence to kill. He just needs a small reason to suspect. Joey senses the shift in the air. He always knows when those under him start thinking, and that's what he hates most. Thinking is the seed of rebellion. He has Randy follow Drake, not because he trusts him, but because he wants to test him. If Randy kills Drake, he'll prove his loyalty. If Randy hesitates, he'll prove Joey needs to replace the tool. But Joey has underestimated one thing: loyalty cannot always be measured by fear. Randy is too tired to continue being a puppet. When he orders Drake's death, Randy realizes it's not just a task. It's a test he no longer wants to take part in. He decides to let Drake live, not out of pity, but to see how Joey will react when everything he trusts starts to crack. When Joey discovers that Drake is still alive, he knows the game has changed. He doesn't know who betrayed him, Randy, Drake, or both. He starts tightening his control, setting traps to test them. He talks about trust in meetings, but in every word, there's the smell of gunpowder. He smiles at Randy, but his eyes are empty. Joey knows betrayal is inevitable. It's just a matter of time. And that obsession makes him make mistakes. He begins to doubt everyone, even those he trusts the most. One night, when Randy doesn't return to the casino, Joey sends people to his house. But instead of Randy, they only find an envelope containing the documents that Drake had hidden. Each page is a piece of the truth that Joey thought he had buried. When the news leaks, the whole town starts buzzing. No one knows who sent those documents out, Randy, Drake, or someone in Joey's team. But it no longer matters. What matters is that Joey has lost control. Those who were once loyal begin to fear, because they know that when the empire falls, no one is safe. Joey's allies look for a way out. His subordinates begin to gossip, and even those he trusted most begin to see him as a burden. Drake disappears. Some say he left town, others say Joey had him killed. Randy also no longer appears. But in this world of guilt, absence never means an end. Joey still sits in his office, looking out at the casino window, where the newcomers still laugh, gamble, and spend money, as if nothing has changed. But he knows one day, those he once created will come back, not for justice, but for revenge. And perhaps that will be the last moment of his life, when he realizes that no one, not even Joey, can buy loyalty forever in a world built on blood.